The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
The case in the defamation trial of Mr. Jones, but there was this bombshell twist in court. If you've been watching tonight, you've heard me reference it, but let's get into it. Jones was taking the stand in his own defense. So he's up there trying to back up the claims he's made, which include the idea that he wasn't really lying, that he never had any emails about this, and so on. And then, and I'm telling you, you don't usually ever see anything like this, the revelation from the lawyers for the Sandy Hook parents suing him. They've got the goods that proves he's a liar and maybe a criminal, and they got it from Alex Jones' own, I guess, incompetent lawyers, because those lawyers accidentally sent Alex Jones incriminating texts and emails, the emails he said he didn't have, to the other side. Take a look.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then...
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
No, I didn't know this happened.
Answer the question. The judge has repeatedly tried to take control there when he has gone off the rails. Jones stammering, pushing back, obviously caught, and then this happened.
In discovery, you were asked, do you have Sandy Hook text messages on your phone? And you said no, correct? You said that under oath, Mr. Jones, didn't you?
I mean, if I was mistaken, but you got the messages right there.
You know what perjury is, right? I just want to make sure you know before we go any further. You know what it is.
Yes, I do. I mean, I'm not a tech guy. I told you, I gave in my testimony the phone to the lawyers before, whatever, and so you got my phone, but we didn't give it to you.
This is as serious as a heart attack. That warning about perjury is real. Jones is being sued for defamation, a type of lying, and now he's caught lying on the stand, and he hasn't even reached the punishment phase of how much he might have to pay. Or it could get worse. The cell phone data that is being discussed here is now all in the hands of the other side. Now, Jones is doing his usual deflection. He has tried to say that all of this is some sort of misunderstanding or just his entertainment, and he's used his platform to repeatedly, willfully and intentionally lie and hurt people, and he knows that what he lied about, what he claimed was some sort of false flag hoax, he always knew it was real.
It's 100% real, and the media still ran with lies that I was saying it wasn't real on air yesterday. It's incredible. They won't let me take it back. They just want to keep me in the position of being the Sandy Hook man. I really do want to try to change things and hopefully be a more positive force when it comes to issues like mass shootings.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. I hope everybody's having a good day. I know I'm having a pretty good day. Poor Alex Jones, huh? I'll tell you what. If there's any guy on this earth that deserves to be getting this kind of negative attention here from the media, it's him. This guy, you know, for years has been allowed to run his mouth to the point of, you know, insanity, to come up with some of the most crazy and vile things on a show that, you know, he was just begging for this to happen to him. You know, all these court cases and all that shit, which he's lost every one. People in this country, you know, we don't need to hear that kind of crap anymore, okay? Especially when it's mean-spirited, the way he was doing this. You know, when you're talking about the Sandy Hook shooting there and all those kids that were killed in it, okay? If you've got nothing positive to say or constructive to say about something like that, then it's better to keep your mouth shut and don't say anything at all, because people would be appreciative if you would just keep things like that to yourself. But why some people in the world feel like they have to utter these nonsensical things and just vomit out whatever the hell thought runs across their mind, you know, in an open public setting, you know, why do they think they can do this and not get away with it? I mean, and get away with it. Why do they feel like these people were just going to sit back? I mean, they waited a long time. I mean, it's been a long time coming, okay, because I think Sandy Hook was like, a decade ago? So it's been a long time for him to be answerable for this. And now that it's happened, I think a lot of people watching this case, you know, being brought out in public and people watching it, got more detail as to, you know, what this guy was doing than, you know, what we, you know, readily heard through the grapevine, as it were. Okay, these cases have a way of really spelling out all the details as to what was going on, what, you know, this conspiracy thing that was happening. You know, we got to see the inner workings, you know, of this guy, Alex Jones, and I feel like a lot of people were sickened by what they found out about him, and I feel like, well, there was enough people in America who already were sickened by him to begin with. And the fact that other people weren't, by tuning in and listening to his rants, and weren't sickened by it then, you say, well, why now all of a sudden are you sickened by what he did? I mean, why weren't you sickened when he originally come out and said all these crazy things, you know, accusing everybody involved in Sandy Hook as it was all staged and it was all fake and everything? You know, why would you not think that was vile and offensive right off then? Maybe it's people trying to cut themselves off from Alex Jones by saying, oh, I didn't like him. I didn't like him, when they were regular watchers of his show, okay? And I think that a lot of people now, especially people who supported Trump, I think a lot of people who supported Trump wish they hadn't, okay? I have to believe that there are people out there who have changed their minds a lot about Trump, and now about Alex Jones, and later Steve Bannon, okay? I think a lot of people are going to regret having listened to these fools and tuned in loyally, you know, to their shows, to listen to what they had to say. I mean, I really think that there's a lot there that people really found that, you know, you guys were duped. You were idiots to follow these people, okay? And the proof is there. And so, like I said, you had this guy, Alex Jones, who was always had some weird conspiracy theory running on his show. Now, he's offended a lot of people in the time he's been on the air. And some people labeled him as, you know, Rush Limbaugh's replacement, okay? But one thing about Limbaugh is he always knew where a line was that he wouldn't want to cross unless he was going to put himself in trouble legally, okay? Limbaugh would push that line a little bit, you know, as time went on, but he'd never just jump right over it like Alex Jones would do, okay? That's what makes him and Limbaugh different, because Limbaugh knew that he couldn't just come out and say stuff like that and think that, you know, oh, I'm going to get away with it. He knew better than that. And so, you know, that makes Limbaugh, you know, better at what he did than Alex Jones. Alex Jones was just a bullheaded idiot, okay? And he would just say whatever the hell crossed his mind, thinking that, oh, because I got the freedom of speech, I could say what I want. Well, yeah, you can if you want, but you're going to pay for it when people are offended by what you got to say. And you can't, and people have a right to come after you for that, you know, in a legal way. So you say something like that, you better pack your shit and run, because they're going to come after you. So, but you know, like I said, the Limbaugh had a knack of doing those kind of things on his radio, and yes, he was crossing the line. Sometimes he had an underlining meaning to the things he said that other people picked up on and knew what he was getting at. Okay, some racist commentary and stuff like that. But you could never say that that's what he was saying, okay, because he knew how to cover that. All right, he wasn't an idiot per se. He was smart enough to know how to walk the line. But, you know, some people today that have come out and tried to imitate Limbaugh's style, or whatever you want to call it, you know, his show or whatever, they're falling and tripping all over themselves because they don't know how to do it, and do it, you know, without getting in trouble, like Alex Jones and later Steve Bannon. I mean, these people are going to get in trouble, okay? And, you know, hey, like I said, I think a tolerance for people like that is wearing very thin on folks. And people are starting to get ugly and upset about this stuff, you know. And so today they had a verdict here for the trial so far, I guess. Part one of the verdict, anyway.
3.
We have been covering now for days, and that is the defamation trial against conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. That jury has reached a verdict. They deliberated for just about a day here. I want to tell you a little bit about it. Remember, Alex Jones was on trial because these parents of one of the victims of that Sandy Hook massacre sued for defamation after Jones spread lies that the massacre was a hoax. That obviously is not true. These parents were seeking $150 million. The verdict is in. Jones is going to have to pay at least $4 million. I want to get right to NBC's Ben Collins, who is following this. So I want to be clear here. From my understanding, Ben, and I think you are with us now. I haven't actually seen your face pop up, but I'm going to trust fall. There you are into the newscast here. This is the first. There's more to come tomorrow, but so far, and just so people understand, these plaintiffs, these parents, had been seeking damages because they've been living a nightmare, right, for the better part of a decade, because Jones has been lying about how their son was killed. They wanted $150 million. Jones's people said, we'll pay $8. The end result is so far $4 million.
Yes, so far $4 million. So this is a bifurcated trial. This is the compensatory stage, usually a little less.
Explain that. What is bifurcated and compensatory? Just put it in super plain English here, Ben. There's two parts of this trial, sure, right? And this is just one of them.
Yeah, punitive is, you know, the malice part of this thing. That usually is where the larger figure comes. So this is lower than I think they anticipated. At least the Sandy Hook parents anticipated $4.1 million. We'll see what happens with this next round here. Alex Jones said more than $2 million would sink InfoWars. That is almost certainly not true. You know, he just got a $7 million anonymous Bitcoin donation a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, $4 million right away, right now. We're going to hear some more tomorrow. This specific jury is going to reconvene tomorrow, hear from some more witnesses, and they're going to go through the next charge against Alex Jones.
Help me understand some of this, because the jury basically gets this blank piece of paper and they write in dollar amounts based on these charges, right? Because, again, the question in front of the jury is not whether Alex Jones lied about Sandy Hook. He did. He lied. That's been decided. The question is, what is the punishment for doing that and defaming these parents and what they have had to go through? So the jury goes through like a blank sheet of paper and they write down dollar figures. Was the expectation, Ben, that this first chunk of results would be the sort of more serious stuff, if you will?
It's more of, you know, there are more blanks to fill in this time, but the dollar figures were assumed to be lower. Maybe not this low, but they were assumed to be lower. You know, in one of the cases, one of the blanks they had to fill in was $0. There were about eight of them to to figure out. We're going to go through the paperwork in a minute, but some of these were for $50,000, some of them for $1.5 million. If you add it all up, you get to $4.1 million. And, tomorrow they're going to chat again. They said that Alex will not himself once again testify tomorrow, but this case will go on against Alex Jones.
Have you heard anything from his attorneys in court related to this verdict yet, or outside of court? Do we know any reaction? And again, I know this just broke. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am.
They are. This is as fresh as it gets. This happened about 4 or 5 minutes ago. So not yet. They are. If they are out of the courtroom yet, I'd be surprised. So we're going to go back and we're going to go figure that out in a couple of minutes.
And as you could see, I mean, 4.1 million was a low number for a lot of people. They were expecting. I mean, they were suing him for what, almost $150 million, I guess. The goal was that they knew that he wasn't going to pay it. Okay, they know that he's not going to be able to pay that. The goal is to shut his show down. Okay, and he's already admitted that he filed bankruptcy in an effort to try and protect what he has. Okay, and then the idiot fool gets out on the stand and he says, "Yeah, I'm filing." Well, the judge says, "No, I mean, you file bankruptcy. That's one thing, but another judge has to rule yes or no on that bankruptcy. So you're not bankrupt yet. You filed for it, but you're not bankrupt. There's still a legal process to going bankrupt. Okay, you still have to wait for the judge's approval of a bankruptcy. It means, and when you're talking about millions of dollars, that means they're going to want to go through all your finances and stuff like that to make sure that what you're doing is legal and not a part of a larger scheme here of being, of trying to escape something. Okay, that's what he's trying to do. So I don't think he's going to be able to go bankrupt, even though he's saying to people that he is. They're going to find out that he has no reason to go bankrupt, and they're going to force him to, they're going to deny his application for bankruptcy, and he's going to have to pay the piper, as it were. And I guess, like I said, and the fact that his own fucking lawyer sent him all those, sent to the prosecution all these texts from the last 2 years on Alex Jones's cell phone, basically contradicting what Alex Jones had recently said on the stand, was like the biggest bombshell I think to ever hit somebody, in a long time in court trials. I mean, basically, he walked out of there with egg on his face, and the jury heard that he lied. Okay, under oath, and the friggin' prosecutor reminded him, "You realize you're under oath, okay?" And he's sitting there. You could almost see the blood drain from his face. He got caught. He's stumbling on himself, trying to backpedal this thing, and he can't. He can't. Hey, look, you might as well admit it. You lied, okay? He's trying to say, "Oh, I didn't know." Bullshit, you didn't, because you hear you on your friggin' own cell phone. You were talking about this whole thing with your lawyer, and bingo. And then right after that message, all those things were sent to him. The lawyer also sends a text saying, "Oops, wrong file." So even the lawyer knew, but it was too late. It was too late. So I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at Alex Jones's house that day when he was talking to the lawyer. He must have went upside him and down the other, that guy. Some people think that the lawyer deliberately sent that because maybe the lawyer had enough of him, that he didn't like him at all, and he scuttled his own case. Which a lawyer isn't supposed to do. He could be disbarred for that, if they found out he deliberately sent that. Okay, but if it was a mistake, it was the dumbest thing in trial history that I can remember. But the truth is the facts are there, and everything that he's been saying on the stand while he's been testifying on his own behalf was all lied. Now it was all a lie. He'd been lying to the court here all this time. Perjury be damned. Okay, I don't know what they're going to do about that, if they're going to penalize him some way for all the perjury. That's certainly an option. They have the evidence to show that he did. And you got Alex Jones breaking the court's own rule that he wasn't supposed to talk about this thing outside the court. And yet, every day, you know, when he goes home, he gets on a show and he starts yakking about the court, you know, calling it kangaroo court and all this crap, you know, and the judge is like, you know, I just told you not to talk about it. You went on your show and you opened your yap anyway, you know. So this guy, he can't help himself. He can't help himself. He's got to be running his fucking mouth, you know, and not only that, but he has to make himself look like the victim. Now, this victimhood thing has been blanketing around the Republican Party here for some time now. And the Republicans today have been playing the victim since Trump lost the election. And now they're all doing it. They used to accuse Democrats of playing victimhood all the time, okay? But this time they're doing it, and they're doing it for no good reason, okay? What they're complaining about is really not a problem. It's just fairness doing its job, okay? Everything that's happening to the Republican Party has been waiting to happen for many, many years, okay? And it's just that it's happening, okay? They've got no reason to sit here and cry foul over this any more than they had the right to scream fraud after the election. So, Alex Jones, boy, I mean, you talk about a guy that's really got himself in a world of shit. I mean, he's not going to get out of this. I mean, he's going to have to answer for what he did. He might even, I mean, there's a possibility that he might spend some time in jail there for some of the things that he done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's still trying to commit crimes even now. I mean, it's a crime to try to hide assets and stuff like that while you're filing bankruptcy. You know, like I'm saying, he's doing all that he knows, everything that he can think of to try to escape, you know, the fallout from his bullshit. And he's breaking laws while he's doing it along the way. And so this guy, his show is coming to a quick end here. And so the people, oh yeah, and somebody sent him 7 million in Bitcoins. I don't know what the hell, you know, a Bitcoin is worth anyway, but somebody donated 7 million Bitcoins to him. Now, I don't know if that means $7 million or what the hell that is, okay? I don't know what that is. But I find it very peculiar, and I'm kind of questioning who sent it, you know. Could have been Trump. You think Trump was helping him out with the verdict? I don't know. Republicans take care of their own, even the crooks. And so I got a feeling that someone behind the lines, or someone's, okay, a bunch of people, might be back there waiting to bail him out of this mess that he got himself into. Okay, and that wouldn't surprise me a bit, considering all the fruitcakes that showed up on January the 6th to do what they were doing. Okay, those people were all insane. They needed to have a special big building built for them to have them locked up in to protect society from us, you know, from them. You know, they belong there. It's like almost like a mental health institute. They needed to be all of them herded into that building. They're a danger to society. And if this country knows what's good for it, they'll avoid having to deal with these people again by putting them somewhere safe away from us. So that way we can run the country in a civilized fashion here. All right, let's go to a commercial break and we shall return.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
The traffic.
I can't read
the boss. The baby. The dog. That does it. Calgon, take me away.
Lose your cares in the luxury of a Calgon bath. Calgon softens the water to leave skin feeling silky smooth as it lifts your spirits. The soft, luxurious, fragrant world of Calgon.
I love it.
Pamper yourself with a Calgon bath. Lose yourself in...
Subpoenaed by the January 6th committee.
Can I start with this new Ginny Thomas reporting? Is the committee aware of these emails to 29 Arizona lawmakers? And would that indicate that perhaps you'd be interested in hearing from Ginny Thomas?
We only have so much time at each hearing.
You only have so much time?
What is she talking about?
The January 6th committee was formed nearly a year ago. And they don't have the time to ask the wife of a Supreme Court justice why she sent 29 text messages to Mark Meadows pleading and then demanding that he fight to overturn the election results so Donald Trump could remain president? Or why she urged Arizona state lawmakers to reverse former President Donald Trump's election loss in 2020 by choosing electors themselves?
Ginny Thomas emailed 2 Arizona lawmakers with the subject line, "Please do your constitutional duty."
Ginny Thomas admitted to being in the cult LifeSpring in the 1980s.
Then she was apparently what's called deprogrammed, a controversial way to unlearn what she picked up at LifeSpring.
But it's obvious she traded one cult for another when she attended the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th.
She's a QAnon.
Ginny Thomas has reported to have done a lot of unlawful things, and the January 6th committee did not even issue a subpoena.
What are they waiting for?
What are they waiting for? Have her testify in public hearings under oath and on television. No more delays, no more excuses. Follow Don Winslow. We do not accept donations, but would appreciate your retweet.
I mean, to be completely honest, to give you my, the first thoughts that popped into my mind was Josh Hawley is a and he ran like and the fist pump combined with what he did in the immediate aftermath just shows the true character or lack thereof.
There were reports that saying when they showed the video inside the hearing, people started kind of giggling, laughing.
Oh yeah, there was an eruption of laughter. I mean, obviously I see the amusement of it, and I'm not going to fault people for finding it humorous, but that pisses me off. That guy's a clown. You see the way that these guys perform in public, and then what they are in reality. You get a lot of that nonsense up here on Capitol Hill with these members of Congress that have become like a caricature in the media, but in reality, they have no character. They have no honor. They have no integrity. And the way they behave outside of the camera's eye is very different.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, Kansas. What a surprise for a lot of people. Which Kansas is a red state, and you know, they had their vote on the abortion issue down there. But I think a lot of people were thinking that there would be a big turnout of voters, which it did happen. There was a lot of people watching the registration numbers going up and up and up in that state, as they were saying a lot of people are registering to vote higher than since the Trump election thing. And people didn't know if that was a good sign or a bad sign, like maybe all the Republicans are going to come out in force or all the Democrats are going to come out in force. And my initial reaction was it has to be Democrats coming out in force, because Republicans are usually already ready to vote, okay? You don't have to tell them to get out and register. They're already ready to vote. The ones that register at the last moment when they're needed is the Democrats, because usually they'll sit these elections out. And people keep telling them to stop doing that, okay? They need to partake in these elections a lot more frequently than they have been in historically, because it's the proof is in the pudding that when you sit these things out, bad things happen. And if people really want to see this country in a different way, exist in a different way, then you yourself have to be a part of the process. You can't just expect everybody else to do it for you. You have to be there. You have to do it. There's no a representative republic requires that everybody be involved all the time. That's the only way a system like that can function, and function honestly. Okay, if we have been all this time, we'd have a majority rule system, not a minority rule system like the Republicans are trying to turn it around to be. Okay, but here in Kansas, where what I just said is proven true, because Republicans really are the minority in this country, okay? Even though they might control a lot of the mechanism of the government, okay, the numbers of the Republican Party are much smaller now than they have been in a long time. So a lot of people have left the Republican Party, become independent, Democrat, whatever, okay? Because they don't like what their party's become, okay? It sickens them to see, they just don't want to be a part of that, okay? And I can't blame them. And so they take on the issue of abortion, and that crosses party lines, folks, okay? That issue is women, okay? Republican women, Democrat women, independent women, okay? That's an issue that affects all of these women in all the different political parties and stuff that are out there. This is just, they picked the wrong issue to try and, throw their fat around on, especially at this point in time, so close to November. They never should have done this, and it's always been something the Republicans always knew, never to try and make a reality. You can always go around and say you want to stop abortions from happening, but don't ever try and make it happen, because you'll lose a lot of Republican vote, okay? Somewhere along the way they forgot that rule, okay? That it's a good campaign issue to run on, but it's not a good policy to implement into reality, because you will lose voters, and that's been proven. So this is the sign that shows how mismanaged the Republican Party is, and how it's run by a bunch of goofballs, really, because these people, if there was any experience at all left in that party, they would have known not to go and bullheaded into this situation and try and push their ideals on a country that's really gotten past that in many ways, and kind of settled it with Roe versus Wade, all right? And we've always knew there was always going to be people on the sidelines in the peanut gallery that are going to shout, down with, abortion supporters and all that stuff. Okay, we were going to have to live with that until those voices quiet over time. Okay, it would take time, but never, ever, ever would these people. Did we ever think these people were ever going to get to as close as they have to getting this their way? And now that it's done that, a lot of people are scared in this country, and they don't like what they're seeing. Okay, they don't like to see the Republicans trying to come out and do these, universal. I mean, not universal, but this universally unilateral. Okay, that's the word I'm looking for. These unilateral operation they got here where everybody's that's against them is shut out of the system and only their voices are heard. That's what I call minority rule, because they are the minority opinion. The majority of the country is in support of abortion, okay? The minority isn't. And in our system, it's supposed to be a majority rule, and that's it, okay? This is what we created for a government. If they don't like that, that's too bad. Okay, they can go find another piece of land somewhere and make their own damn country, okay, if they don't like the way that's set up. But in order to have a country that can be controlled and, and sort of not let the friggin' wheels fly off the car, in order to keep it running, you got to have this system of majority rule. That way it keeps the noise of discontent down to a dull roar, okay? Because you can't please everybody all the time, all right? You can't do it. There's no way to do it. So the best way is to say, well, the majority of people will get their way, all right? We'll hear the dissenters, but the majority will get their way. And nobody likes to lose, okay? I can understand that. Nobody likes to lose. And when you got big money intertwined in the process, yeah, the people don't want to see that money lost. They want to keep getting it. So you got a lot of incentive out there for people who are constantly on the losing side of history, trying to get things their way, because they don't want to wait, or they don't want to work the issue so that way they could try to get a compromise or something on what they want, okay? Which requires, political tact, a gift, if you will, of speaking to people to you don't holler at them, you don't yell at them, you don't pound the pulpit at them to get people to side with you, you don't throw the Bible in their face, okay? You get up there with an intelligent point of view and you tell people what you think about it. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't, try again. Okay? But you don't give up and say, fuck the system. We're gonna tear the system apart and get things our way, whether they like it or not. Okay? That's just like starting a fucking war right in the country by saying, that's it. We're forming our own armies and we're coming after the. You might just as well do that if you're going to go into the government and start ripping apart the way things are. And they know how to put the right people in the position of doing that, like the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Lauren Boeberts. Okay, they know that these are the kind of people that they can count on to upend the system when the time is right. And that's why these people are there. That's why the Republicans constantly push in the spotlight these lunatics, okay? Because these are the people who are stupid enough to be blindly led right into the armpit of anarchy, and just keep right on going, doing what they're doing, okay? Because they don't know any better. They don't have any brains to understand what they're doing, okay? Those are the kind of politicians Republicans like, because they can be controlled with money, okay? You give them enough money, they can go shopping, they can do what they want, and these people are just vain, pure and simple. It's all about them, okay? So anyway, here's this article here from the Kansas City Star. It was published today, and it's entitled, "I'm a pro-life Republican who voted no on the Kansas abortion amendment, and here's why." I'm a pro-life moderate Republican who voted no on the Kansas abortion amendment, like many moderates did. Lots of moderates voted no, not to give a woman a choice, but rather because as we read the amendment, we realized the real question was, quote, can we trust the Kansas legislature to do the right thing for every Kansasian in every situation, every time, unquote. Sadly, the answer was no. And that was a quote from Jeffrey Gudman's Leavenworth. It should be clear to Kansas's representatives in the U.S. House and Senate where Kansas stands regarding women's right to make decisions regarding their own reproductive health. Please represent your constituents when the issue is voted upon next, said Senator Jerry Moran. Your job depends upon it. To paraphrase Michael Douglas's character in the movie The American President, Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab has been so busy keeping his job, he forgot to do his job. For years, our household has always received postcards confirming our voter registration and poll location. This year, we did not receive such a postcard. I jokingly told my wife that we may have been expunged from the Kansas voters registration rolls. Well, I was half right. Our poll location was changed this year without notice. After going to the previous spot and waiting in line, my wife was redirected to the proper venue. I don't know if the notification absence was because of budgetary cuts, incompetence by the Secretary of State's office, or an attempt at voter suppression. In the current Kansas political climate, it could have been a little or a lot of all three. That was Larry Booz, Overland Park. How ironic it is that the Royals' Whit Merrifield gets traded to Toronto after not being able to travel here because he refused to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Maybe now, Whit, you will get your shots, or maybe you will be like Kyrie Irving at the Brooklyn Nets and only play the road games. I would like to thank you, Whit, for 7 years of service in Kansas City. But after your recent comments about getting vaccinated only if you were playing for a contender, I just can't do it. Maybe someday soon you will remember that term sports are about committing yourself to being a team player and doing everything and anything to help your team win. Later, dude. Let's see. How typical of the conservative nonprofit Heritage Foundation's E.J. Antony to equate high energy prices with President Joe Biden's energy policies. I agree with only one of Antony's statements. Quote, because energy affects everything we do and everything we buy, those high energy prices are now trickling down into the price of everything else, unquote, and they are a major contributor of inflation. However, Antony ignores several realities. The price of oil jumped in February when Russian President Putin disrupted the world oil supplies by invading Ukraine. This is significant because the price of oil is determined at the global level, not domestically. This disruption had no effect on domestic production, but only on prices, bringing windfall profits to major oil companies. Last year, ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, and BP earned more than $75 billion in profits. These profits were not used to cut costs for consumers, but instead mostly to buying back shares of stock and satisfying investors. The United Kingdom imposed a 25% windfall tax on oil and gas company profits to finance grants for its poorest households. Italy imposed a 10% levy to help consumers. American lawmakers are contemplating the Big Oil Windfall Profits Tax Act to be used for customer rebates. Big Oil must do its part to battle inflation at home. So, you know, what you see here is people here in Kansas who basically, you know, they just, you know, there was a lot going into this election here. A lot of things on people's minds, you know, not just the abortion issue, but, you know, the cost of things, you know, inflation and, you know, the way things are now. And people are just really, how can I put it? They're concerned about the way reality is now. And they think that what Republicans are trying to do is only exacerbating existing problems, okay? It's only going to compound things needlessly that don't need to be added on top of, okay? And, you know, obviously this abortion thing comes at a worse time when people are struggling with lots of other things. And when people are already in a piss poor bad mood, okay? You don't want to turn around and shit on their parade when it's such a small parade, okay? So you don't go around and anger these people even more by saying, you know, we're taking away this, we're taking away that. They're already losing already. You know, every time they go to the pump, they're losing money. Their paychecks aren't enough, okay? And you know, they're not getting enough money. People just not willing to take another bite out of their ass, okay, to appease a bunch of people that are going around talking about an issue that was already settled 50 years ago, okay? They don't want to have to go back and retread stuff like that in a time where everyone is really worried about, you know, where are we going to be next year, you know, financially. Am I still going to have my job next year, okay? And so I think what they're saying is it was a no-brainer for people in Kansas to come out and shoot this bill down, you know, to try to make abortion, anti-abortion legislation, you know, the law of the land here, okay? They avoided going down that road because I think a lot of people were just saying this is not what we want to discuss, okay? The Republicans want to talk about abortion, we don't, okay? This isn't anything that we really are planning to talk about come November. We want to hear other issues discussed from the Republican Party. And all they're doing is they're going back to reaching back to the old issues that used to get Republicans the smaller seats, like in state houses and, you know what I'm saying? You know, some of the lesser chairs of political power. But once you get up into the federal level, I think people really don't expect your focus to be just single-mindedly on one thing, okay? They want you to have a broad perspective, and right now the Republicans don't seem to have a perspective about much of reality these days, and I think a lot of Republicans are sick of that. I'm thinking maybe a lot of the moderate Republicans are sick of that. They're tired of seeing their party take the extremist route and drumming up anger where there shouldn't be, conjuring up problems where there aren't, in order to get people fearful and run to the polls, okay? Right now, with everything else going on, people don't see all this other stuff the Republicans are trying to toss in your face as something they need to worry about, okay? And I think that was part of the reason maybe why a lot of people in Kansas voted overwhelmingly to stop, you know, that bill from passing there, you know, or that issue to pass in the election, okay? I think that's really what it was too, as well as women coming out and saying, you know, I'm sick and tired of you saying you want smaller government and yet you want government in my pants, okay? You know, you can't have it both ways. Either you want small government or you don't. And when you got government trying to breach into your privacy, that's the definition of big government, right? Okay, so when Republicans are willing to cut their own throats by backpedaling on an issue that they claim to be staunchly in favor of, which is to turn government into this tiny little thing so you can flush it down the toilet. And then they talk about how, well, we're going to stop people from doing this and stop people from doing that and take your rights away on this and that. Hey, that's big government in full play, man. I mean, you can't say that's small government. Okay, so don't believe one word about Republicans when any of them come out and say government's too big. Okay, that shit started with Ronald Reagan when he would told people the worst words to hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Okay, that was basically him saying bitching about big government, and that's been their adopted mantra ever since. Okay, before that they never would say anything like that, but after Reagan that was always on their mind. And they don't really mean it, because when they're in power, what do? They bloat government power to encompass everything that's wrong with this country, you know, talking about big business eating up everything. they got big businesses wrap their fingers and tentacles into government so bad they've blown up the size of government by including all the businesses in it. So we're all tied into it now, okay? And now we got so much money in politics. I mean, Jesus Christ, how much money does it cost to get a person elected president in America? It'd blow your socks off. No, that's not small government, people. That's corporations sucking in government and making it into a monstrous, corrupt entity. You know, Jesus. You know, and I think, you know, people really gotta sit down and think about the big picture here of what's going on with the country and who's pushing things in the direction we're going. Okay? And I don't think anybody's really taken that time to actually just kind of sit back and think about this logically. You know, people need to be more curious about things. They need to never just take on somebody's statement at face value and just say they're honest. Okay, especially if it's coming out of the mouth of a politician. You never want to just say they're being honest. Okay. Always investigate. Always be curious about what it is they're talking about. You know, I mean, that's the best piece of advice I can give anybody. If you ever want to follow politics or follow the mood of the country, is just, you know, always keep your mind open to things that you never considered or something like that, and never be surprised when something comes out about somebody and it's bad. You know. Never be surprised, because we never know how people really are deep inside until they screw up and reveal who they are. Okay, we never really know, because they're never going to voluntarily tell you. They're never going to voluntarily tell you their real plans for anything until they happen. Okay, I mean, how the hell do you think all these dictators, these people like Mussolini and Hitler and all that, got into power? Because they held back the truth about a lot of things they wanted to do. And when they got where they wanted, then it was okay to just blurt it out to everybody. Okay, why do you think so many assassination attempts were made on Hitler while he was in power? Because people realized how much of a fool they were to let that guy in there. They wanted to undo what they did by getting rid of the problem. Okay, so like I said, that's how you have to be careful. Learn from the past. Learn from what mistakes we made in the past. Don't repeat them again. Okay, and I'm hoping that, you know, Kansas is a sign of what's to come for November, that maybe people will consider this, think about this logically, leave the emotion behind, and just think about what you're doing, okay? And understand that your choices have consequences for somebody that you may not even have considered. And don't be arrogant about assuming that you're right, even though you might be causing a lot of harm to a lot of people, okay? Nobody is right enough to justify destroying people's lives, okay? I'm sorry, if you're going to destroy hundreds of thousands of people's lives because of what you think is right, then you're not right, okay? Automatically you're wrong, okay? And so if you don't think of that, if you don't think that is logical, then, you know, there's something wrong with the way you think, okay? You just weren't, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great remainder of the week, and keep your ears open for local COVID-19 news and monkeypox thing, okay, that's going on. And please subscribe and comment. I'd like to hear anything you got to say, even if it's off topic or whatever, I don't care. And go ahead and, treat each other nice for once, okay? Just go out there and don't criticize in a knee-jerk reaction. Let people be what they are, and you just go about your business. And when you have the opportunity to be nice to somebody, do it, okay? Even if they're not deserving of it. I mean, sometimes I do that, and you'd be surprised the reaction you get from people. So take care, everybody. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.